Hello and welcome to this video. I shall be showing you how some beginners play the opening. So I just wanted to show you the ideal way to play and the not so ideal way to play. Because a lot of times I see beginners, they play a certain way without any thought. They're just playing moves, pushing bits of wood, thinking, well, let's get out of that phase. If you have an idea of what not to do, hopefully you'll follow simple principles to make you play logical moves. That way you won't be getting stuck in a rut, struggling so much. Okay, let's begin. So a good idea in the opening is to develop your pieces, gain central control, not move your queen out too much, not move the same piece uh, too often in the opening. Don't keep pushing pawns. Don't expose your king. Uh, don't march your king around the board. Just little things like that. Don't put your knights on the edges. Okay, it does happen in certain openings. Okay, so those are the exceptions. But if you're starting out in chess, it's advisable not to do that. And I'll show you how to implement those ideas. Okay, so let's say white starts off with e4, gaining some sort of central space. Okay, let's take that off. Okay, and then black decides to go on a little pawn push. Okay, black maintains white is aiming at the center. Black pushes another pawn. Knight f3, developing a piece, okay, whilst at the same time looking at the central squares. And black puts a knight on the rim. A knight on the rim is dim. Okay, so white plays c4, gaining more squares, more central space. Black undevelops a piece. White, in turn, develops a piece. Okay. Black has pushed a pawn. White has developed a piece. Black has pushed a pawn, not achieving anything. Okay. White has developed another piece. Okay, so you can see here already that white has developed 4 pieces, whereas black still hasn't developed any. White's got central control of the squares here. These ones here. This one's controlling that one. This one's controlling. These two are controlling d5. Okay, and he's developed some pieces. Okay, great. Okay, so black has pushed a pawn, exposing his king on the side. Okay. Queen c2. Okay, developing the queen, but not too aggressively. I mean, if you wanted to develop it aggressively, it would be a4, but you've got to see whether it's going to be exposed to any attacks. Okay, so or b3. Okay, that's less likely to be attacked, but queen c2, that's very nice as well, defending the pawn on e4, and it's also looking at the diagonal here to g6 even, so it's not a bad idea. Okay, so what does black? Moves the king unnecessarily. Okay, so a good idea is to get the king safe, parking it in the corner, not leaving it in the center, because in the center, that's where a lot of the action takes place. So once the vanguard is like opened up, then the king's like, oh, I'm exposed to a lot of firework and bow and arrows. Okay, so it's probably best just to hide away in the corner to avoid any stray bullets. Okay, so where shall we castle? Let's castle king side. Okay, there's lots of pieces in front of the king and some pawns, so it's not too bad there. Okay, we'll park him there. Okay, so what does the king do? goes on a bit of a wander. Okay, right. Okay, rook d1. Okay, developing the rook. Okay, maybe pushing the pawn to open up the scope of the rook on d1. So black here hasn't hidden the king away. He's not made the king safe. He's moved the queen. Okay, that's fine. But instead of moving the queen, maybe it was better to develop the pieces. And a good way to do that would have been to, let's say, open up this pawn here. Yes, that's pushing another pawn. But maybe something like here, d5. Let's play a nothing move, d5. So that way we can get this bishop developed. Okay, with the idea of knight d7, pushing for e5. Okay, so black is kind of aiming for this sort of idea. And anyway, at least he's developed some pieces. They're not ideal squares, but at least it was an idea. Okay, so pawn, rook to d1. Okay, queen b6. Okay, so white decides, yeah, he could develop the rook. Okay, white decides just to push the queen back. Okay, didn't go all the way back. Okay, so white has an idea to gain even more space. Okay, developing a knight on the rim. Okay, 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 quick check. Here. Okay, king decides to go in the corner somehow. Okay, no, not yet. Sorry, it's white to move. Okay. Okay, now here it's a bit dangerous to take this pawn because an idea for white would be something like this. If you go pawn grabbing, sometimes the queen can get lost, and that's another reason why you should be careful in developing that queen. Okay, if you keep moving about, it might end up helping your opponent develop his pieces because they attack you at the same time, and you're just moving it about, maybe to the corner, to the side, and then it gets trapped somehow. Okay, so that's something to be wary of. That's a pitfall that most people fall for. Okay, so after something like this, b4, gaining lots of space. So white here has a lot of central control. He's got lots of space, and his pieces have developed. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, so even if the queen moved back, let's say takes here, king moves back to the corner, takes, king moves back here. There's no coordination between this rook and the other rook. Okay, rooks like to be connected, so even though it's not that important at the moment, it just there's a lot of discoordination with black. Okay, so it makes things very tricky to develop pieces when you're in this sort of position. So just to make it worse, okay, let's get this rook over because it's got the ability to do that. If black decides to play this move, attacking the queen, white here in turn would block that bishop, and at the same time, this bishop here on f4 is attacking the queen, and the queen's got barely any squares. Actually, it loses itself, but he can't quite save himself. But anyway, so that is one example of how to play the opening and not to play the opening. Okay, thank you very much. Please like and subscribe, donate if you want. Let's help grow the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, au revoir.